session. Hopefully I don't disappoint you by the end of this session. Then you should have better gone and attended the other session. Alright, so the way we plan to run this is not really by PowerPoint, because one thing which attracted me about this unconference is the word unconference. I really love to interact, and being agile or trying to be agile, we know that unless you hear the other part of the story, you won't know how well people are getting the messages and how well your objective of the workshop or the unconference is getting fulfilled or not. So it has to be interactive, and that's how I plan to do it. So please feel free, as much as time permits, we'll do discussions. And it's not really PowerPoint, is just for reference sake, for kick-starting discussions. Okay? Let's see. So as we having few good sessions, I'm trying to attend this morning as well in terms of challenges in Agile, and I was there with the Archana session, Agile in IT services industry, and the challenges which some of us heard, and there were good discussions going on. And it's not easy. I coming from IT services industry, and I can see a lot of faces here whom I know and represent IT services industry. It's different, easy. When we talk about transformation, and obviously I'm just making some assumptions that everyone would understand transformation and Agile transformation at a high level. Why do we need to do that? See what it means and what are the different dimensions of transformation. Yeah, so traditionally we have been saying that organizations have been working on kind of a waterfall mode. And at one or other time, for one or other reason, they decide to embrace Agile. And embracing Agile is not as simple as just practicing Scrum for one of the teams. Probably that's how they start initially. How do you go about embracing Agile at enterprise level? And that's where the discussions I want to really kickstart and involve most of your participation to check your viewpoints. So this is one slide. Of course, I've not created it, but I find it quite appealing to have a summary at one glance, which depicts the different dimensions of Agile transformation. When we talk about Agile and the theme of this unconference being Agile, how do you end up being Agile from where you are right now? Assume we are waterfall, we have been doing waterfall till yesterday. Now today, for whatever reasons, we have decided to move forward with Agile. Agile transformation starts from today. What is the future state which you look at? Let's try to understand that future state a bit here. The future state of Agile should have obviously the tools and processes, which have processes can even sum up what is defined by, say, even as simple as a Scrum guide. It defines you what roles and what artifacts and what ceremonies you have to follow. Kind of a process framework, tools and processes. There would be various set of practices. Yeah, that is typically how most of the engagements will start on an Agile transformation journey. What was beyond that level are the other aspects which we want to really touch base upon in this unconference. After tools, processes and practices comes principles and values. So this can be directly related to our Agile manifesto. Right? So 4 values and 1 principles. You should know by heart by now. Yeah. And then on top comes the mindset. Although it seems to be coming in the end, and that is how, in my experience, and I'd love to share, have others share their experiences of transformation, how and when the mindset change comes into the picture in your transformation journey experiences. My experience would be, you start with it along with other aspects of transformation, other dimensions of transformation, keep working on it, and that's the highest degree of maturity which an engagement could aim for, and it generally comes in the last, if at all it comes. Yeah, and it would be good to hear from diverse experiences. So these are the different dimensions, and as you can see it here. Now when you talk about tools, processes and practices, you can see that can be adopted in command and controls. Anyone thinks differently here? Yes, please.
I think the transformation starts at different levels in the organization. First, you have to bring the mindset change at the leadership level so that the agenda can be driven down, right? So the mindset change has to happen at that level, whereas you may start implementing at the lower levels, right?
Yeah.
So those things have to happen. Otherwise, you will not get the mandate to do Agile.
Perfect. That's exactly what I meant, that you start it early, but we know practically that you won't be able to finish it early. So you still start it here, along with the other transformation dimensions. Yeah. You start making attempt, and that initial attempts, in my experience, so I'll resonate well with what you said, is you start mindset changes, attempt at leadership level, the top leadership first. Their buy-in needs to come through. If not, everything else is at big risk. And we know from our experience, having burned our fingers more than once. And it was very nice of her to say various success stories. Nobody in India talks about unsuccessful stories, right? If you guys spoke me, I can share that also separately. But success stories are only not even 10%. If I can try to be honest with you, transformations, most of the other transformations are not really able to achieve their objectives. And there are few senior guys here, and they can pitch in and have their views, please. So, as I said in the beginning, we want to have this more collaborative and knowledge sharing. I'm just a facilitator in true Agile sense.
Yeah, I'm totally with you about this failing part. Yeah, absolutely.
And somehow, and again, I'll relate it to various things. If anyone has heard Vineet's podcast, Why Agile Transformations Fail. So there's a good series going on, and to kill the dissatisfaction of driving till Injawadi for 2 hours, I have started utilizing the time to listen to podcasts, and these are some great podcasts by the way. So there's a good podcast series, Why Agile Transformations Fail, and Vineet has been pretty vocal about it as well. Again, it all comes to mindset. And in Indian context, in more so, let's say, in Asian context, it becomes even more great for various legacy reasons. We've been used to brought up. So, great point. Let's park it here. We'll have some discussions coming up. I just want to have everyone, feel about thinking about what are the different dimensions of transformation, and then we'll come to the theme of this UnConference subject. What are the different revolutionary aspects of transformations? Okay? Yeah. So this is just the general definition of transformation. As I said, we'll not stick to the just these slides only. Let's see what is the key things you expect out of a transformation. Just to highlight, it is across different dimensions of people, process, and technology, and obviously you drive a transformation with a specific outcome in mind. It has to be able to result in a fundamental change to the way organization currently operates. That's an organization context, but take it this way for any transformation, even a personal transformation. And I'm sure many of you in this room would have gone through personal transformations. At some point back in time, maybe a decade earlier, you might have been thinking, okay, I can target to become this XYZ person with these kind of capabilities, skills, or this kind of job roles and profiles. However, if you have been able to transform yourself, you might have been able to move in a totally different area which you would not have even thought at that time. There are personal transformations, there are organization transformations. So, coming to the theme of this UnConference topic. Yeah. There could be theoretically two different types of transformations. A revolutionary transformation or an evolutionary transformation. The objective of transformation being you want to reach a future state where different in a better way from where you are in the current state. This is your current state, this is your future state. It need not be Agile Transformation. Agile Transformation is one kind of transformation which we talked in more detail. It's any transformation, even a personal transformation, right? You want to take some examples, personal transformation? Anyone wants to volunteer? Sharing your own experience of personal transformation.
Lost some weight.
Yeah, well said. And not everyone is able to achieve it. Yeah.
We have goodies who will share some interesting stories with us.
Yeah. So, what does this picture indicate? What are you going to find? What kind of transformation are we talking about here? Yeah. And sorry, the clue was there, but I deliberately kept it very small font so that only those having the sharpest eyesight can read it. Storming of the vessel. Yeah, there are various folks with very sharp eyesight. I don't have sight. Yeah. So what does it indicate? That was the symbolic beginning of French Revolution. So we would have read it in history. French Revolution is one of the classic revolutions we read in history. In fact, most of the countries have gone through one or other revolution, including India as well. Yeah. What was the start in French Revolution? Anyone? The public reached a tipping point. It wasn't initiated by some high senior leader position, or it wasn't a military coup either. It was a ground up, building up of sentiments and emotions, which eventually resulted in this kind of revolution. Yeah.
Queen France, she said that if you don't have something to eat like bread,
Exactly.
then
Yeah.
okay.
So people have been complaining about issues on the ground. Yeah. That there's hardly any food because of various reasons. I think there was some drought or something. Not that good in history, but for various reasons, people were finding it hard to even eat, common people. And then the Empress gave this statement that if they don't have bread to eat, why don't they eat cake? That shows the stark difference in understanding the reality what is going on the ground. The leadership was supposed to be in charge of understanding how to drive the country, how to look after the betterment of people. There was obvious disconnect. Yeah. So that resulted in that revolution. So, in fact, at this stage, let me take a little bit pause. Okay, change gears, and that's how I love to do it. If you try to think about Agile Transformations, sorry, I'll keep moving here and there, yeah, so that I make sure that everyone is awake at least. So, if you think about Agile Transformations, what is it that you think would be a preferred approach? And everyone can be honest about it. Do you think Agile Transformation should be evolutionary or revolutionary? So, let me have hands first and then we'll invite some good speakers. So, how many think it has to be revolutionary? Hands, please. If you can show hands, how many things? Agile Transformation has to be revolutionary. So, okay, at least one hand. Thank you. I can't show hand, otherwise, that would have been my personal preference, but I'll stay away from that. So, only one person thinks Agile Transformation has to be revolutionary.
I just trying to understand. Revolutionary, you mean that on one, a clean cut, right? Or is it?
Good question. So, that's what I tried to explain here. One more example of transformation. Yeah, so we'll define what we mean. Thanks for raising it. A. What are the characteristics of revolutionary transformation? Okay, and some of you might disagree, please feel free to. That's pretty much allowed in Agile.
One great example of revolution is like remote country.
Yeah, demonetization. Yeah, that's a good example. I have tried myself, I've resisted myself to sharing a lot of things from Indian context, especially political, because it could get sensitive and to derail our agenda. So, please bear with me. Yeah. People's emotions runs very high, and I've experienced this in previous versions. So, it has to be, does it
your answers.
So, abrupt and disruptive, and fast-paced, radical in approach, generally implemented as a push and a top-down approach. Generally, you can have exceptions, and I'd love to hear if someone would like to give examples of those kind of transformations. And we're not even there yet talking about Agile Transformations. I got your message, good body language, our experience. Requires letting go of old practices and unlearn. I've just highlighted one of this, okay, out of all the points. Again, I'm a little biased based on my experiences. You can resonate it when I said burning our fingers. So, Pratik, are you on with this? So, what are the other characteristics? Let's hear from you.
You have to know the strengths of it. And I got real.
Evolutionary transformation. Just hang on, yeah. Let's not play, just give me a moment. Yeah. What are the other characteristics of a revolutionary transformation? And we're talking in general, guys.
Forced to change.
Forced to change, yeah.
The need for change by revolution itself was there.
Yeah. That tipping point which I said. Yeah.
Even like why we need it and how should we do it is secondary.
Yeah.
But what started it?
Yeah. So, like example, in French Revolution, we talked about total discontentment with the ways things are, with the current situation of the public. The guys who do the work, right? In late terminology, you see total dissatisfaction at Gamma. The actual place where real work happens. Although industrial revolution started almost at the same time, people should have ended up being more happy because they can earn better, they can sell their things better. That was the first industrial revolution. We're talking about 17th century, right? But it didn't happen that way because all the profits went to feudals. So exactly. And general public wasn't able to gain any benefits out of it. So total dissatisfaction with the current state of affairs of the things. That is the tipping point. And in organization context, it could be similar but in a different way that hardly, especially if I try to relate to what Ashwinee said, hardly services organizations should really care about whether it is total dissatisfaction of the employees, but they care about their competitiveness in the market. Ultimately, your whole objective is you're a business entity, right? You are trying to make profit out of it. You're accountable to your board. So, in an organization context, if you are not able to keep up your profit-making business, you are adding towards a problem.
So major of that is client driven. Client wants it and being in a service
Yeah.
industry, we cater to it.
Yeah, and that could be another reason. Client is forcing you that you guys cannot keep working the way you've been working so long. You need to change your ways of working. That might force you to look for a transformation. And some of the organizations I've been part of for over a decade, IBM is a good example. IBM has been one of the big MNCs for over 100 years. They've gone through transformations multiple times, but again, in the last decade, they faced the changing times hard way, and their CEO had to decide to put the entire company down on a big transformation path. Elephants can dance if anyone has read that book. That was by one of their charismatic CEO earlier in the 80s. They transformed and they are attempting another transformation now. So, totally changing the way they do the work. Yeah?
I would like to add something here.
Yes, please.
Like you said, so I read this book from Jack Welch about GE, General Electric.
Yeah.
He was called Neutron Jet. So this is what the strategy he used. Revolution.
Yeah.
Just completely re-engineer the business. In some industries, work. But if we talk about knowledge industries, I think it's very difficult because the transformations are driven by people.
Yeah.
So definitely collaboration is important because the knowledge industry works with people. It's more not instinct based, but more like emotional.
So, one point which I'd like to be taken up, if time doesn't permit here, we have a separate session afterwards. So, is revolutionary transformation possible in knowledge industry? Yeah. I think that's the point you're trying to touch with. In knowledge industry. I'll just use short form so that we don't forget. Okay, so any other points about revolutionary? Let's just talk it through quick.
So my point was revolutionary transformation is not possible in knowledge industry.
I hear you. And I have a different viewpoint. That's what I want. But rather than me speaking my viewpoint, the best way we can do justice to this workshop is let people speak up different viewpoints and then let's brainstorm what comes out as the outcome. Yes, please.
Can we say that do companies adopt revolutionary transformation because focusing on other parameters or objectives like increasing their profit or something, when the technology is evolving, they actually face the buzz to onboard the revolution and transformation, and now there is a desperate need to go into a revolution.
Exactly.
It's too late in the industry.
Exactly. So, do you want to cite some examples of those companies? There are ample examples there. Some have already gone out of business. IBM was just an example. We didn't go out of business, but they're trying to reignite.
About my own company,
Yep.
I'm from Stambaje. So basically, oil and gas was doing very, very good from mid 2000s until 2014.
Yeah.
The main focus was to build on to this and have as much clients we are serving, increasing our profits.
Yeah.
We had legacy systems which are still running, and the companies who made these legacy systems are not even supporting it from last more than 10 years. So we are on a high risk of having some systems which there is no support outside available. And now from last 2-3 years, we have actually gone into a transformation where we want to change a lot of legacy systems. It's more than 3,000 in numbers, and now we are bringing us ERP, which is a company of this size. It's very surprising to know that they don't have an ERP software till date.
Sure.
So it's kind of
Which company we are talking about, sorry?
Stambaje.
Sure. Okay. You want all these sponsors? Okay. Thank you. So there are ample examples. Just let me complete. If I have to speak up, unless someone raises their hand to give more examples, and these examples are those transformations where they are still trying to come back on track. There are examples where they're totally gone out of business because they failed to transform. Xerox, Kodak, and there have been Nokia, there have been rulers, there have been market dominant players at one point in time. And if you hear their CEO's statement, like Nokia CEO gave a very emotional speech, we didn't do anything wrong, but we still went out of business. You don't really need to do wrong to go out of business. That's what we need to understand in this scenario. It's called as VUCA word, right? A lot of you would have heard it. Volatile, uncertain, chaotic, and ambiguous word. That's the kind of world we live in now. You don't have to set your foot on wrong track to spoil your future prospects. Even if you fail to realize what changes are required to keep up to date with the market norms, you will by default go out of business. That's the reality we are living in. That's why it becomes even more important to understand what aspect of transformation are really required. Yeah.
For example, PAUC18.
Yeah.
PAUC18 was the beginner.
Although Google is still one of the leading market players, but not all products of Google have been successful. So Orchid was a good
Micromax.
Yeah, Micromax in India. Yeah. At one point in time, they were the leading mobile manufacturers in India, and then they just lost it up. So numerous examples, guys. Yeah.
Can we say wait for the moment to have revolutionary transformation? We have no time to take any calculated risk.
Yeah. So now, sorry, can we switch to PowerPoint again, or is it because sorry, I'm being agile. I'll change my initially set out plan on the run because I think that's more relevant. Because we have been talking more about revolutionary transformation. Let's take a step back and understand what evolutionary transformation also is. Then we'll go about.
Before you go there,
Yeah.
what I understand is literal meaning you need an overhaul. You cannot evolve.
Radical change.
Radical.
See, both transformations bring change, right? The reason you're calling transformation is because it takes you from current state to a futuristic, which is a to your customers, right? It could mean any kind of change. But what we're talking about is there are definitely two wider approaches of doing change: transformation, evolutionary and revolutionary. What resonates better with the job? And that's a poking question I want to have this audience participate in, rather than me giving my biased view. I'm biased, as I said, I'm open and honest about it, based on my experiences, but that may or may not be the true picture. So let everyone come out with their views. So we'll just take a step back. Sorry, was there a question? You okay? Yeah. So we talked about these characteristics of evolutionary change. Yeah. So few of the key ones again to highlight is disruptive, radical change. Yeah. And often irreversible change. Go with a revolutionary approach. Military coups are also revolutionary. And requires letting go of old practices, unlearning, and discards old entities. That's again very important. Remarkably different from the other transformation approach, which is evolutionary. Let's take a little view of what kind of transformation has this been. Evolution. You all know because we have read it in Darwin's theory of evolution, right? Simple. But what if I say it's true till here? If you pay a little bit detailed attention to what's going on here, and what could be the after states here? You see what's unique in that last state? Yeah, that's a mobile van. And the next one you'll see your tablet and mobile in hand and then walking through, and then after a while maybe they might have long elongated fingers like ETs and all. That might be the next stage we human race might be headed to, right? Yeah. So it will be worth wondering whether you will call it as a revolutionary change or a evolutionary change. Evolution has brought you so far. Will evolution only take you further, or will there be revolutions? So, few key characteristics of evolutionary change. So generally, evolutionary changes are incremental, slow and gradual. Of course, that last slide we have seen, it has taken millions of years for humans to come from where they were running around and jumping on the trees as a monkey to become where we are now. Yeah? Generally implemented by grading up pull approach takes significantly longer time scale, and it tries to work with a minimal disruption approach. Especially if you look in an organization context. A lot of organizations have been able to evolve as well with the changing market times. Anyone wants to give some examples? Without bringing a revolutionary change. So, yeah. So, my question is a little different, that what are those companies or organizations you know of who have been driving transformation using evolutionary mechanism, not a revolutionary one?
So I think ITC is one example.
Okay.
Which started as a tobacco industry, and soon they visionaries realized that tobacco is not the very best business to be in.
Yes.
Slowly started diversifying. So I think diversification with evolution made them global into all the business domains. I think that's the best example. They did not take an evolutionary step, it was more.
So really you have to let go essentially. All I also make this highlighted here. It requires letting go. Yeah. ITC, one example, yeah, please. Google.
Yeah.
You want to explain it one point, please?
Yeah. Actually, they have started with the search engine. They started with they should help to the people so that the people will get to know all the information and all those things. Then they went on to how can we make it more precise. They moved on to Google Map. Then they come up with their own browsers, Chrome. Then it becomes successful. Even the people don't want to switch to maps and other things. They were still able to use it Internet Explorer and the Mozilla, and they were using it, right? And in terms of with the course of time, they moved on to make it more precise. They moved on to having their own satellites and to make it more precise. So Google Maps, then they come up with Google and sense, and then again they came up with artificial intelligences, and slowly, gradually they are increasing.
In a nutshell, they are still able to cope up with the changing times without need for a radical transformation in revolutionary sense. So, is it a fair statement to say you really need revolutionary transformation only if you fail to evolve?
Best example is Reliance Communication from Dubai till Anil Ambani. Sorry, Dubai to Anil Ambani, and then finally Mukesh Ambani realized Jio. Totally drastical change in telecom industry of India.
Was that revolutionary or evolutionary? Just one last point. I have been shown warnings already. There's not to cover at all. Yes,
I have two totally different industries to speak about.
please.
One is my local kirana shop.
Yeah.
There's been Amazon, there's been Flipkart, everybody, but my local kirana shop who's selling me rice, chawal, atta, they're surviving without any evolution. The biggest revolution that they made is delivery to home. Other than that, they don't even accept credit cards till now. So nothing has happened, but they're evolving. They're still existing. And on the other hand side, I have this automakers, giant automakers. The biggest thing that has happened to auto industry is Tesla, I would say. But it's still not a revolution as yet. So these two industries, totally different, opposite, still evolving and don't need revolution.
Good examples. So, what can you draw as the bottom line? What makes an organization transform just using evolution as a mechanism and not requiring revolution? What will be the key ingredients in organization?
Constant change.
Survive by being able to change. So, if they are resistant to change, then there will be a time when you want to have a work.
Realizing the need to change.
Survival to fittest.
They also need visionary leaders.
Exactly. Well said. Thank you guys. I'll just try to speed up. I've been shown some warning signs in terms of time check. What kind of transformation this is? Are we sure? All I want is to force you guys to think through. World may not always be black and white. There are shades of grey. And there will be some situations where you will not be able to really make it out very clearly whether that would be revolution or evolution. Do you agree that there will be some transformations which will have aspects of revolution plus evolution? See, on a face value, this looks like a transformation. Caterpillar, in just a few weeks' time, transforming into a totally different entity. Now, because we have read the biology and all that background, that it has taken ages, millions of years to genetically transform that genes, basically that capability has come into their genes to be able to show this transformation in such a short time. So it was actually revolution in the background, but on the face value it looks like a revolution. It was an evolution in the background, at face value it looks like a revolution. Those kids if you show who don't know that background evolution, they'll say, wow, that is such a magnificent transformation, it was so different then, and now it's so totally different. It has drastically changed, radical change. So remember that aspect of revolutionary transformation, it's a radical change too, right? Okay. That evolution won't help.
A business cannot just leave things to eternity.
So, in an ideal scenario, I think what I'm sensing so far, without putting my words into your mouth, evolution could be a default way to transform for organization also, as long as what we talked about few important aspects which they are accounting for, like willing to change, recognizing a need to change, and so on, right? Some of you have given those already. Will still it be enough for all the organizations to transform evolutionary? That's my question.
Not every time-based situation. It takes time to change its version from version 1 to version 2. So might be evolution won't be completely helpful in that.
So now we'll start talking about Agile. Sorry, it's starting very late in the game.
To become a market leader, you have to have a revolutionary vision, like Geo Mobile.
I can lose 10 kilos in 1 week.
Yeah.
But after 1 week, can I sustain it for 1 year, or can I grow again back to the
Very
same
good
weight?
example. So now I want to leave that as a thought for everyone, and we can pick it up and conclude maybe in following discussions. With a revolutionary change, let's talk about some organizations. Let's take some specific examples. In my experience as well, I can talk about. Few of the organizations have decided to go with a radical Agile Transformation. And I can see more elements of revolutionary approach than evolutionary approach. If any one of you have ever been associated with PayPal? Any one of you, Dave? Yeah? PayPal has set down on the drastic, radical transformation, Agile and DevOps. 7 months time, 4,000 plus people fully working into Agile. I'm not saying fully Agile, but they're fully working into Agile way of working. Which was still a big deal, and that would more or less classify as a revolutionary transformation in such a small time at such a large scale, 4,000 plus, and again we're talking about a distributed team. And there are numerous other examples. Anyone has other examples of any radical revolutionary transformation? Again, revolutionary, few of the key things, guys, keep in mind what we see in the previous slide. You have to let go of some of the things what you have been doing for ages, for a long time. That also needs replacing people and processes.
Dell computers.
Yeah? Yeah.
Cisco.
Sorry, what is the other?
Cisco.
Cisco. Yeah. So what did they replace? If I just ask one pointed question, if you can highlight. What did they replace? What did they have to let go?
Legacy system.
And did you see people being impacted? All revolutionary transformations always have people being impacted. Yeah, yeah,
Even whole mobile industry is revolution, right? I mean, after Apple came into picture.
yeah. Yeah. So just trying to fast track and will spark that video maybe. I'm rather late with time check. But in what situations evolution alone will not work this time. Again, we're talking about here in organization context now. When an organization is already deep mess, every organization might hire consultants, and that is a harsh reality. I myself have been part of some of those situations. They know what needs to be done. You need to change. Still, they are not able to change because that's not easy. The consultants, some of the consulting, anyone from McKinsey? I'm just taking one name. There are various others, but McKinsey has been doing it very focused. McKinsey calling out very specifically what changes are required in your side to be able to survive in the changing market. And still, I know those organizations, without taking their names, they have not been able to take required steps and still failed. Despite knowing. So, not knowing, ignorance is a big problem, but knowing and still not doing enough is another problem. Sure. So, dysfunctional management team. So, because they just don't know how to change. They don't want to change. People find it very hard to let go of the way they are doing, the roles they have been playing. We know that in Agile, not all roles would be required. So, because I've been given just last 5 minutes, let's take a quick one. Now, having a high level understanding of revolutionary and evolutionary ways of transformation, I've just taken a few practices here, and I invite all of you to participate in a follow-up session where we can have more discussion on other practices you think would really require evolutionary change or a revolutionary change. So current scenario is, here you are working in a waterfall team. We are trying to embrace Agile. These are some of the example practices you have to adopt. Will you go with a revolutionary approach of transformation and change or an evolutionary approach? That's the question. Let's start with first one first. Emergent design? Evolution. Sorry? Evolution. How many hands for revolutionary? Okay, and everyone else for evolutionary? Sounds similar? Sorry, I just fast-tracked it. Retrospectives, again, but worth discussing. Because emergent design, see, it's not a revolutionary concept. I I have been part of those waterfall-based projects. They have been practicing those concepts even before Agile came into picture. It's just a best practice. You could have done it, and that doesn't require different set of people and different roles and different process framework to work and implement emergent design. It's just a best practice. Yeah, that's why most of us feel same way. Retrospectives, pretty much same. Yeah, agree? Let's talk about the third one. Agile release train launch in SAFe. Those who are aware of SAFe, Scaled Agile Framework. How many hands for Revolutionary, please? Still less than half. Rest all for Evolutionary? Okay, so this should call for a discussion. We are almost 40-60% divided. This is my take. Why?
You are using the freedom to release on your own. That we are going in a train now.
Yeah, and you are enabling. So, organization change management, there are various frameworks, and I have few in appendix. We are running acutely short of time. Sorry, we'll park all the questions now because. Yeah.
Because in a train we need minimum 120 people working together towards one project.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to bring.
And they are bringing all that change in a very short time frame. There are new roles which are coming into picture. There are new ways of working. There is a new backlog. They have to commit in a new way for 10 to 12 weeks and deliver still. And in my experience, we know a lot of success stories. I'm sure there are various experts here who have various other success stories to share. Even for a waterfall-based team, although that's not recommended, in fact, some of the guys call it as an anti-pattern. Even for waterfall-based teams, I know success stories where they have enabled everyone into SAFe and they have still been able to deliver. Agile release rate, their velocity may be less, that's all right. They will stabilize after a while, but they have been able to deliver and start learning new way of working. Radical change, fast track. 10 to 12 weeks is all you're talking about, and you start with its enablement only 1 or 2 weeks ago. That's it. So total time frame you're talking about is still 12 to 14 weeks max. Yeah? Sorry, we are running very slow. So estimation, again I first said. Planning poker, why I say is because it's, we know that, right? It's a team-based decision making, and it hasn't been a best practice in waterfall old way of working. More so because of mindset challenges than any other challenges. Yeah? Guys agree? Yes. Task allocation? Quick one. Revolutionary, right? Yeah, because no one allocates tasks. So task allocation from process point of view. But practically, in Agile, no one has to allocate you tasks. You volunteer to pick up your own task, right? Unlike in the traditional old way of working. It needs revolutionary change. User stories. Thank you. We are on the same page now, it sounds like at least. Kanban? Sorry, let's have a show of hands. How many hands for revolutionary Kanban? Okay, less than 1/3. How many for evolutionary Kanban? That's more. Thank you. So I am in a majority. That's what I do. Just to highlight, that's the beauty of Kanban. It does not need radical change to be introduced right since beginning. In a span of time, you can bring radical change. That's the beauty of it. It does not demand different roles, different processes to be set up on day one. You can still map it, retrofit it to the old way of working, and slowly take baby steps towards Agile. That's the beauty of it.
You are Kanban always.
Yeah. You just have to start visualizing it and showing it to a stakeholders. Thank you. Ladies, stand up. Evolutionary? Yes. How many for evolutionary? Okay, I'm still in minority, but that's my we have been doing it. It is a change, but it could be debatable. Let's park it. We'll talk forward session. Yeah, because we haven't seen that way of working. There have been a lot of conflicts between support guys, the operations guys, and the development guys. If you are planning to bring all of them work together, that's a revolutionary change. Continuous delivery. Yes. Anyone for evolutionary? Continuous delivery? Revolutionary. Yeah, anyone for evolutionary? Evolutionary. evolutionary?
Revolution. I want revolution.
Yes.
Revolution is revolution.
Exactly. Thank you. We are on the same page. The last one, Agile workspaces. Evolutionary. So, more of revolutionary according to me, because the way they expect you to restructure your workspaces, open spaces and all, absolute must to do, but there are other things, ergonomics and other aspects which we have been doing in most of the other cases in old way also.
Ashwinee,
That's it.
I really want to clap for you for this slide. It's really good.
And that was my only original contribution.